Alright boys, so I just recorded a bit of video and it cancelled, but we'll just go over it again. So I was just saying, this is how I think city side Nuke should be played. A lot of discrepancies between different city sides. Ramp player goes under first, vent player dives first, sometimes they have a dedicated secret player, they fight heavy to stop this, a lot of different styles, right? So what I believe is that we have 5 players, right? We have a dedicated ramp player. Okay, this dedicated ramp player...
Counter-terrorists win.
Excuse me 1 second, let me make sure this round doesn't keep restarting.
Let's go.
One sec. Okay, that's it.
Go, go, go.
Okay, yeah. So how I believe we have 5 players, right? We have the dedicated ramp player. This dedicated ramp player obviously has the initial set, like smoke nade is good, molly nade is good, molly is good. Sometimes he can kind of pre-play under, you know, so he can come down here if there's a vent drop. You know, he's already kind of here. Otherwise, he can just creep back up and no one will ever know. For example, if we can leak heaven, he might give up ramp. This guy can sit under heaven. He looks for the shadow. You know, the shadow, like if the T walks across up here like this, the guy sees his shadow down there. Anyway, like he can fight outside locker room. He can fight from hell. Coordination with the outside player. The ramps player can swap with the AWPer, so if the AWP starts outside, he wants to come take over ramp, then the ramp player can go and be the hell guy, locker room kind of city boxes guy, or just go heaven. So a lot of importance for the ramp player that people don't realize. Like he can mix up his aggression. It's like, yeah. For example, like if they're coming secret, kind of, you know, does he want to like meet them in secret? Does he want to get to locker room and get here and fight, for example? So a lot of different like things that the ramp player has to make big decisions. So someone that's confident in making those decisions and also has the aim to back it up to obviously like hit these shots, then the ramp player. Then you have like the dedicated, the hut guy, top anchor, right? He should pre-molly every round. He should, but like it should be spawn based. So like if there's, yeah, I'll explain in a second. But let's just say he pre-mollies hut every round. If he gets into like a position like this, stop the initial rush, or he, you know, maybe drops down, anti-flash, step. However you prefer to play it, it's up to you, right? You might want to run to reverse. You might want to try get to Mustang at the start of the round, like this area. So different ways to approach, but yeah, molly every round. And you got to be wary, like for example, there's certain things within the CT setup. So for example, if your AWPer is starting secret, it makes way more sense for you as the hut anchor to be up on the rafters as opposed to on the floor, because now that your AWPer is trapped secret, let's say the T's are running some sort of, you know, strat and they see your AWPer here, and then they're like, okay, let's just extend on outside towards heaven, you know what I'm saying? And then you as the ramp guy, sorry, as the hut player can coordinate with the ramp guy to come and maybe like double fight hell. But this is not possible if you drop on the floor on these sort of rounds. So it's important to know where your AWPer and your outside rifler are playing and take note of that, and that might determine whether you stay on the rafters or if you drop on the floor. Yeah. Anyway, some cool little HEs you can kind of do. There's that HE. There's this actually really good. Obviously the molly, like the molly for heart, is like whatever. But the squeaky one is the one I wanted to talk about. So
Fire.
I probably already know this, but I'll just quickly show anyway.
Throwing fire.
But you get the point. It goes inside the door, but you can get rid of it. Better, and then yeah. So then you have your second top player, who can go through heaven with that guy, or he can go through annex. I would suggest he goes annex if he has, you know, the best spawn maybe. Other than that, like it's quite strong for him to go through heaven and throw the, for example, if this guy's first, he throws the squeaky molly, and then this guy will throw the hut molly, and then like this guy can kind of like maybe whatever, eventually get to top heart, play for here, and whatever. But you need to be in a position to be able to rotate down the vent, so you don't want to be like stuck on top of heart and lose 3 seconds, you know, unless you want to be like really noisy. So it's important that we keep the squeaky door smoked. So in any case, you're the squeaky player, so you know, maybe for example like your first spawn, you go like this. You can't drop down without taking damage, can do whatever, just like this. Turn, anti-flash maybe. However your pathing is, right? Doesn't matter. But the first re-smoke of the door will come from the hut guy, the top anchor. So if he stays heaven, he'll smoke the door. If he drops on the floor, he'll smoke the door. You know, there's even a smoke from back here. If he gets over here, there's that smoke for door. Don't know where you aim. Something like that. And then from up here, I think it's like, what is it? Maybe that. In any case, more re-smokes from different areas, right? And then that way, at any given time, you're able to get down the vent, for example, and like either smoke or molly, and be able to stop the secret kind of push. Now, if for example they're walking secret, maybe you don't want to be so noisy getting down the vent, like, because you're just going to give away that we've rotated, and they might hit top and whatever. But if they're rushing down, you know, you might like skits down the vent, waiting, smoke, you know, and then maybe you're here, and then you end up like jump spotting, for example, and then once you jump spot, bang, you know, you can come here, you can jump up, or if you played from here, you can like kind of jump spot as well, or play this headshot angle, bang, get a kill, get out, control the stairs, try to get another kill. Just like, you just gotta be smart about your kill and reposition kind of thing. Anyway, then you have your outside rifler. Okay, so this guy's got a pretty important role as well. He generally is like the third top guy, like annex player, you know. So it's good for him to come here at the start of the round and spam, you know. It's good for him to use like his smoke at the start, you know, like smoke, and like maybe cancel molly, for example, or cancel molly with that one, jump throw one from over here, or you might cancel the Navi wall by like smoking like here. You know what I'm saying? So like you can cancel and then like play that, blah. Now this guy, he's the outside player, so he's not really the first rotate per se, right? However, I mean, it's always swappable. So for example, like if this guy has like a really good annex spawn and he wants to like swing into annex like this, right? He can kind of turn into the first rotate, right? And just fill the same role. But then it's important for the hut guy to make sure he stays on the rafter so he can kind of replace him and help outside. So everything ties together in a way, you just got to think about it a little bit. So yeah, this outside player, you know, playing annex is good. Playing these areas is really good. This, like this is good. Playing Scream, really good. Playing CT Blue, Unbreakable, right side warehouse. Getting close T red with your smoke, using it as a one-way for silo. You know, getting flashed through your smoke like you smoke, and then like pretend that's smoked, and you're coming through. Boom! Your teammate does like a flash like this.
Flashbang.
You might want to like sit there, have your teammate flash for you.
Flashbang.
Just you're the outside player, you know. If you want to sometimes start, can't remember what this is close, but if you want to start in secret, like left side secret, maybe you cross with a flash. That could be strong. Maybe you want to play the one way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe you want to get to electronic. A lot of different things you can do. Maybe you want to get here. You know, maybe you want to sit here for a bit. You know, look over the smokes. Maybe you want to double nade silo. Like it's just like you play. You're a player, right? Yeah. And then the AWPer has an interesting one. So I like the AWPer to be a flexible player. So he can start. I suggest like he starts heaven. Maybe 50 to 60% of the match, right? Starts, looks for the vent dive. If there's nothing, he can like drop HE. And he gives the first smoke, and then from here he can like come here and AWP locker room. He can AWP hell. He can come out of heaven and come AWP warehouse, for example. One sec. Alrighty, yeah, so he can come all the way here and AWP normally. That's also fine. Or he could AWP elbow, or he could take over ramp, like literally take over ramp and swap with this guy. So this guy becomes the rifler that goes over there, and then this guy stays on ramp, for example. There's a lot of different things that the AWPer can do after he starts heaven, you know? He can make his way back into annex if it's really quiet at outside, end up on this line, potentially end up on this line, potentially end up on this line, you know? So AWPer can really play. But generally, yeah, if you start heaven, you always want to give the first smoke, AWPer. Sometimes, arguably, it would be even wise depending on your start round position. So, for example, you know, maybe you're starting warehouse, you can like drop your smoke here. You know, but that's a bit extreme thinking. But yeah, if you're not starting heaven, then obviously you're probably going to be starting warehouse, blue, potentially annex line. I don't know. That's about it, really, right? Like you might be crossing red or some crazy shit, but in general, like yeah, like after you start outside, you're probably going to lose vision at some point against a good team, and that's when AWPers are usually pushed back, able to swap with the ramp player, for example. So what might happen is like the T's might throw this set of smokes, for example, and then they'll do an extension. So they'll do, and I know you guys do this, for example, like I know you guys think smoke that, but smoke that, molly, flashes, whatever, and then they like extend on you. And now there's no AWPer to stop them, and there's no rifler because you're kind of, you know, yeah, like it's important to recognize when they can extend, you know. So it's actually like against extension, you'd think the AWP is favored in these areas, but it's kind of not. I'd favor the rifler playing with the rifler, like, you know, taking fights at outside over an AWPer, trying to, you know, get lucky here, but they flashed him, he ducks in, then he has to kind of creep out, you know, and then, oh, can they jump here? It's just a nightmare. It's not an easy position to AWP as an AWPer. You're lucky to get one and B-hop away. That's the most you'll get. and then we'll be forfeiting heaven and so on. So yeah. Okay guys, yeah, so basically with first rotate pretty much always the vent. Now for example, like if they go secret and then this guy rotates and he ends up at control, for example, like the AWP might come take over ramp while the ramp rifler rotates and doubles secret with that original vent diver, you know. But the most important concept, guys, like I want to teach is called like triangle, right? So this is something that I like really stick by in my CT Nuke. So basically, like if the two top players, right, let's say player A and B are the two top players, one's the hut guy, one's the squeaky guy / first rotate. So I would say if my rotator, like player C, right, the guy who's usually around annex and so on, let's say he wanted to make an aggressive play with the AWPer, and the rifler, maybe the setup was rifler get to here and AWPer swing T-red. What the two top players should do, they shouldn't commit so heavy in the site. Like one guy can maybe start heaven, like maybe here, and the other guy can kind of start outside annex and kind of, you know, see if he can get that pre-molly in, maybe spam. At the same time, one, if they come top, you just play retake, and two, you're close to support your teammates at outside, and that's about it really. The negatives are obviously slower rotations and so on, but yeah, like so how this relates to triangle is, triangle means like if you want to play two in top, you got to have eyes on annex kind of thing. So for example, if they push back ramp, like for example, like they did nip smokes and they push back the ramp guy, and now I pretend I'm the CT, I've dropped under and I'm now clock, I'm here, okay, and my AWPer is, you know, I don't know, let's just say like he started secret or some shit, like the AWPer's like here, like maybe like posted or something like this, I don't know, right? The two players in top, they can stay in top, but there needs to be eyes on annex. There always has to be eyes on annex. So whether that's from here, it doesn't matter, or whether it's from like here, you know, or like, you know, maybe potentially like something like this. There has to be eyes on annex to complete the triangle. So another scenario would be like, you know, the guy dives down the vent, for example, right? The rotator. So he's now here, and he smokes whatever, or he smokes here. So this guy's now secret, right? This guy's now secret. Then we still have an outside rifler, right? Who maybe started scream. Okay. Now the AWPer obviously is not gonna be, you know, he's not gonna be sticking around for too long here, I'd assure you, because they could split secret and ramp. They can do these sorts of things. So the AWPer's probably gonna pull back, and maybe he's gonna end up at elbow, right? Or he's gonna end up in heaven. For example, like watching the squeaky walk out. For me, this is the triangle complete, because you have two in top, and you have eyes on annex. Now, if this guy, the scream guy, was inside annex, I mean, it's this, we achieved the same thing, but it's kind of better, right? Like you'd think, you know, this is more unexpected, you know, and it is. It's a really good spot. But for example, if you're here, you can also help if they come into top too. So don't always play these far away positions. They're not as good as people think. But yeah, that would be the triangle complete. Yeah, I think about some scenarios, maybe write them up. Kind of what happens if XYZ happens. Yeah, so that's how I think the city-sided nuke should work. Now, with the AWPer flexibility, obviously I said he can start heaven, he can start like normal outside. He can also do like ramp aggressions, you know. He can double ramp from the start. You can straight swap from the start around. The AWPer can go from under through control to secret. He could start by crossing secret with the AWP. He could aggress T-red. It doesn't matter. Like, it's all very flexible. It's just as long as the rotations are down pat, then it's good. Recognize when certain things are happening. So let's talk about some common like city. Like, for example, we start the round. AWPer's here. Annex players here. They do bang, bang. We're not able to cancel for whatever reason, and they don't make noise, but they can be secret. So what do? We say, okay, cool beans. I'll drop down, mate. I'll be here, and let's take a look what's happening, right? And I'm the now, yeah. So what's happened? We still have a guy in Annex. We have an AWPer who's now, let's just say, falling back, right? And now the AWPer's here, and then we have like the guy under and so on. So like, remember I said like the AWPer should go heaven, right? Because he can play like second top player. He can also assist outside. He can also lock them in secret from here, like double scope, so they can't walk back up. But sometimes it would make more sense to swap the AWPer and the rifler in this scenario, you know. And then there's scenarios where, well, if we think that they're heavy secret, the ramp rifler has to go down, and now he's down, so the AWPer has to take over ramp. He can't really sit at elbow because one flash and we're kind of screwed. He'd take over ramp. Now who does that leave? You know, remember we have no deaths at the moment. We have still an NX player and a top player. Now by rights, they can't really hold this on their own because the T's can now walk out hot, they can walk out squeaky, they can also wrap on this Annex guy. So this would be like a scenario to have like a setup, some sort of protocol for this exact situation, such as like one CT vent, one Tetris is quite a good setup in this sort of shits and you know, shit situation. Because this guy gets contact on heart, then this guy gets a freebie. If they run out Annex, like if they run out squeaky, this guy gets the first contact, ducks up, then bang. So it's pretty good. You might even play out of top. You might boost the rafters and get out, or you might play like double in heart, or you might even aggress lobby. Like, of course, there's situations where things are going to be weak, and this is where protocols come in and so on. So we just need to think a little bit. Alright, what else? Yeah, I think that's the most important thing to understand, to be honest. Yeah, if you rewatch this a few times, you'll notice I threw in a lot of example plays, you know. So I would have said, yeah, you're the outside guy, you know, you can use your smoke, you can molly, and you know, you can get to electronic, you can get to scream, you can get to secret, you can get here with a flash, you can go through your own smoke with a flash, you could cancel the molly, the wall, you can cancel the wall, and I probably said that all in the span of about 10 seconds. So I suggest like going back and just focusing on each little thing for your own player, and you know, kind of making notes, because it's gonna, the video will have seemed to have gone by really quickly. And the last thing I'll say, guys, is of course, like when I speak about like rotations, for example, a team does, let's make a scenario, so I'm a T, we do phase wall, so 1, 2, 3, and I get 2 AKs flashed into warehouse, boom, and we have warehouse control, and we're starting to extend. Yeah, I'm a T and we're starting to extend. We can also be down, we also have a player like kind of just sitting here, so you have to rotate one down, and we're playing this sort of round. Now if for example, sometimes the AWPer doesn't get a chance to swap with the rifler in time, so that the rifler can come here and fight hell with the heaven rifler. It's not always a perfect situation, not always a perfect scenario. So for example, what we might do is like, you know, here's like an example setup that I remember. We could run like something called like phase, right? So what that includes would be like, okay, so if we picture our setup, let's just say, I don't know. Let's say this guy, he started in annex and now he's in annex, stuck in annex. Okay, whatever, right? And the vent rotator went down. So now we have like 3 top. We have annex player, hut guy, and AWPer, right? So what could, like, one of the phase setups, and this is like forfeiting the extension. So there comes a point where you have to like say, okay guys, like they can get heaven now. Like this, you know, they can really get heaven. And like an example would be like the AWP, like everyone drops onto site. The AWPer AWPs into hut like this, right? You have one player watching annex like this. Sorry, not like that. Like this. Yeah, like this. Obviously his AWPer's there, so he's not exposed to hut. And you have the third player watching heaven like this. And obviously everyone swings off each other. So for example, if this guy's here, this guy starts fighting heaven. Like this guy gets contact heaven, you duck against this wall kind of thing, so you're not exposed to annex anymore. So maybe I'm here, I'm jiggling, he's like, one heaven, I swing on him. You know, if this hut guy starts getting chased down, for example, I could maybe ping like this, my hut AWPer would run like that, I pick up 2 easy kills, you know. And then obviously you have this guy as well. So yeah, a lot of like good crossfires there. So yeah guys, let me know if this helps at least with your rotations and your base setup and some of the roles and responsibilities and possibilities of what you can do, and let me know how you go.